Imagine waking up in 2026 and realizing that just 2,000 XRP coins in your wallet could be worth more than you ever dreamed. Sounds crazy, right? Well, what if I told you that the numbers, the market shifts, and the insider conversations happening right now are all pointing to a reality that most people aren't prepared for? This isn't just speculation. It's about connecting the dots that others ignore. And before we dive in, let me make one thing clear. This is not financial advice. The reason this conversation is heating up is simple. XRP isn't just another altcoin riding the hype waves. It has a defined utility, a global network of banking partnerships, and a unique position in the upcoming digital asset reset. When we ask, what will 2000 XRP be worth in 2026? The answer isn't just about price predictions. It's about understanding how seismic shifts in finance are aligning with Ripple's roadmap. Every investor holding XRP right now is essentially holding a ticket to a transformation of the financial system. But how big can this really get? That's what we're breaking down today. Let's start with the most obvious question. What happens if XRP achieves mainstream institutional adoption? Right now, central banks are quietly but aggressively developing CBDCs. The missing piece is interoperability. How do you move value across borders instantly, securely, and without friction? That's exactly where XRP steps in. If Ripple cements its role as the bridge currency, the liquidity demand could dwarf anything we've seen in crypto's short history. Even a conservative adoption scenario would push XRP far beyond today's suppressed price. And here's the part that sparks debates online. 2000 XRP in that world isn't a side bag, it's life-changing. Now, I know what you're thinking. We've heard bullish predictions before. But here's the kicker. Look at what's unfolding in real time. Just this week, high engagement posts on X are pointing out record transaction volumes, new corridors opening in Asia, and whispers about fresh institutional testing. One analyst said, the average retail investor has no clue what's about to hit them. That kind of statement isn't just hype. It's a signal. Think about it. If the people closest to the infrastructure are this loud on social media, what's happening behind closed doors? But wait until you hear this, because the timeline is even more urgent than people realize. Right now, governments are openly discussing the phasing out of legacy systems. We're talking SWIFT being supplemented or even replaced by blockchain-based settlement. If even a fraction of that global liquidity flows through XRP, the numbers become staggering. At just $50 per XRP, a figure that more and more credible voices are treating as realistic, you're looking at $100,000 from 2,000 coins. Push that to $100 per XRP, and suddenly you're staring at $200,000. These aren't fantasy numbers. They're scenarios based on math, adoption curves, and demand-supply dynamics. Here's where things get interesting. People love to argue about whether XRP can hit $1,000, $5,000, or even $10,000. But the real question isn't if, it's under what conditions. The difference between XRP staying under $10 and XRP exploding into four-digit territory is tied directly to utility. If banks, governments, and corporations are forced by sheer efficiency to use XRP, supply shocks are inevitable. Remember, XRP has a fixed supply. It's not like fiat where they can just print more. As demand scales, scarcity takes over, and price discovery gets violent. That's when your 2,000 coins transform from a speculative bet into a generational asset. But let's play devil's advocate for a moment. What if adoption stalls? What if regulators clamp down harder? These are the doubts that keep many investors frozen on the sidelines. Here's the truth. XRP has already survived the toughest regulatory battle in crypto history. The SEC versus Ripple case was supposed to kill it, and instead, it exposed how deeply misunderstood XRP was. Now, with clearer legal standing, Ripple is stronger than ever. So ask yourself, if it survived that storm, what else can realistically stop it? And here's something most people overlook. Even without explosive utility adoption, XRP's price trajectory still favors holders. Why? Because liquidity providers, remittance firms, and cross-border payment apps are already testing and deploying it. This isn't vaporware, it's happening. Every year, more corridors open, more liquidity is demanded, and more utility transactions settle in XRP. That baseline demand alone could send XRP past the levels most retail investors expect. If you think 2,000 coins is too small to matter, think again. That's exactly the kind of psychological trap that makes people miss life-changing opportunities. Let me paint a picture. Imagine XRP hitting just $25 by 2026. That's $50,000 from your 2,000 coins. Not Lamborghini money, but maybe the down payment on a house, or freedom from student debt. Now scale that to $100 per coin. Suddenly, it's a six-figure windfall. At $500, you're looking at $1 million. And if the utility thesis plays out to the extreme, 2,000 XRP could be the single greatest asymmetric bet of your lifetime. That's the reality of crypto. Small bags today can become seismic wealth tomorrow, if you're positioned correctly. But let's address the skeptics head on. They'll tell you XRP is too centralized, or that Ripple holds too much supply. Yet, look closer. Ripple has been systematically reducing its sales, decentralizing its escrow, and focusing on partnerships that prove real-world utility. Centralization FUD is a distraction. What matters is this. Banks and institutions don't care about crypto ideals. They care about settlement speed, cost, and compliance. XRP delivers all three. That's why Ripple is in rooms that no other crypto project has access to. Now think about this. Every single bull run has created unexpected winners. In 2017, it was Ethereum exploding from $10 to $400. In 2021, it was meme coins turning $100 into millions for early holders. What happens in 2026 if the world wakes up to XRP's role as the backbone of global liquidity? Suddenly, your 2,000 coins don't just look smart, they look visionary. And that's the energy fueling the community right now. High engagement threads on X are buzzing with phrases like, XRP is the sleeper giant and people will regret ignoring this. That's not just chatter, it's conviction spreading like wildfire. Here's the final piece of the puzzle. The XRP community isn't just another group of hopeful investors. It's one of the most relentless, united, and engaged communities in crypto. That matters more than you realize. Adoption is driven not just by tech, but by narrative. When you have millions of people pushing, educating, and amplifying the message, it creates momentum regulators and institutions can't ignore. And when retail meets institutional demand, that's when fireworks happen. So let's circle back. What will 2,000 XRP coins be worth in 2026? The truth is, no one can say with certainty, but the pathways are clear. At the low end, you're looking at tens of thousands of dollars. At the high end, you're looking at generational wealth. The window to act is shrinking, and the conversations happening today are setting the stage for tomorrow's reality. The question is, will you be watching from the sidelines, or will you be one of the few who saw it coming and positioned early? If this breakdown opened your eyes, then you already know what to do. Smash that like button, drop your XRP price target in the comments, subscribe for more insider analysis, and share this with your community. Together, we're not just holding coins, we're holding the future of finance. Let's get XRP to the moon and beyond.